to be dangerous. Now, no matter what policies he were to change, and it's really unlikely that he's going to change policies that were announced in the budget. You're calling him dangerous.
I could put all those things to once again become a beavering loyal MP. If David Cameron came out next week and said, look, I got it wrong, I've made a mistake. Obviously, I've made a mistake because I'm 18 points behind in the polls and we've just suffered a wipeout in some of our councils. Obviously, I'm getting it wrong. If he came out and said that and I'm not going to be held to ransom by the Liberal Democrats every week anymore. I'm going to jettison some of these balmy policies that I've been made to come out with, and I'm going to start listening to what people say. I'm going to look at why UKIP is growing in popularity as rapidly it is, and I'm going to take on some policies. And the most important thing he can do is this. If he doesn't say very soon, we're going to give people a referendum on Europe, the unions are going to tell Ed Miliband to say it. And if he says it, our fox has been shot.
David Banks.
Nadine, can I just ask one question? I mean, you are strident, you are outspoken. I kind of see where you're coming from, but are you prepared to lose, are you prepared to lose the party whip over this issue?
You only lose the party whip when you advocate voting for another party. But you know, in the most recent cases. But, you know, if I did, I did. Because I'm not somebody who is in politics because I want to be a minister and earn an extra salary. And I'm not someone who's in politics who just blindly follows when I can see my party is actually dropping like a stone. I'm in politics because I'm a constituency MP. I represent my constituents and I stand on my principles. And if my party decided that we weren't really democratic, that I wasn't entitled to my opinions, and that for that I was going to have the whip removed, well, I think it would reflect far worse on them than it would on me.
But Nadine,
can I ask?
Go on, Jerry.
Just a quick one. You're in difficulty in Bedford because if the boundary reviews go through, as being suggested, you lose your seat. What do you do? Are you going to join UKIP? Because you know David Cameron's not going to change. You know the situation very well. He is not going to alter at all. So
I think you're completely wrong. I think he will change. And actually,
I think you're totally deluded.
I'm not in Bedford. I'm in mid-Bedfordshire.
And the local Bedfordshire area,
very good alternative proposal through to the Boundary Commission, who have made very warm noises to my local press.
Nadine, tell me this.
We think my seat's going to be okay.
Nadine, if Cameron were to move further to the right, then he would lose the Lib Dems, wouldn't he?
No.
And the coalition would fall apart.
No, he would not lose the Lib Dems. They're a poker player with no cards. They have nowhere to go. What are the Lib Dems going to do? Break coalition?
Here's the card they have, Nadine. They've given you your majority. They've allowed you and Dems. You are not the government.
Well, can I just go on and correct something that Jerry said to answer your question with the spurious misinformation he gave when he first spoke to me? One of the reasons why we lost the general election was because we went out on a platform of something called the Big Society, which hadn't even been poll tested or focus grouped, and which bombed during the general. And also, one other reason why we didn't win the general election is because David Cameron agreed to the leadership debates, which actually skewed the debate for us. Now, that's the reason why we're with the Lib Democrats, because we didn't win a majority last time. Now, if we did come out with the right policies and didn't go into a general election with spurious, poll-tested policies that nobody understands, we might just win a general election, and we don't need the Liberal Democrats to do that. In fact, we'd be much better off without them.
But Nadine, every policy you're advocating is one that was tried under Ian Duncan Smith, another that was tried under Michael Howard, and it failed miserably. Why is it going to succeed?
I think there's one man's name why they failed, and that was Tony Blair. He's probably the most successful politician of our times, but there is no Tony Blair now. The Labour Party were doing quite well at the time. They were doing very well on a number of fronts, not only on policy, but they were actually spinning incredibly well. They were professional politicians. There was no chance of winning against Tony Blair at that time.
Can I ask you, Nadine?
We did stand a chance against Gordon Brown in a bankrupt country.
Can I ask you, Nadine, when you talked about Cameron's privilege and arrogance being dangerous, why is his privilege dangerous?
I think when you have a combination of the three things together, you can it prevents you from understanding the lives of ordinary people and listening to the messages they're trying to give you. And then when that happens, there's only one place your party's going to go, and that's downwards. Because if you don't, we are there to elect the people. We're there to represent the people. And if we don't represent what they want us to do and don't put the policies in place that they understand and they're screaming out for, then there's only one thing that's going to happen to the Conservative Party. And but there are, and I'll go back to my substantive point on this, there are new MPs in the House of Commons with majorities of 2,000 and 3,000. They are not going to watch that happen. They are not going to go out and fight 3 elections to have their seat taken away from them by a leadership which is introducing policies which are not wanted by the general public.
Have you ever thought of...
What is the history? What is the history of the 80s and the 90s of the Labour Party and the Tory Party? People do not vote for dividing parties, and that's exactly what you're doing. You are starting a civil war. You've started a civil war.
I'd be astonished if people listening to this aren't electrified by what Nadine is saying.
Tom, a disaffected Tory in Blackville, about speaking the truth. Another says we don't mind about gay marriage, good or house, good or... when the transcription of this, Nadine, tonight gets back to David Cameron and to Tory Central Office, how on earth do you think they're going to respond? You're going to lose the whip, aren't you?
Well, if I do, if what they're saying is that MPs can't speak their concerns and can't write their concerns...
This is rebellion.
And if that does happen, well, then I think it will reflect badly on the Conservative Party.
But you made it so personal.
And if they remove the whip from me, well, I do make it slightly personal, because I'm somebody who comes from absolutely nowhere and nothing, and actually made, like a lot of people, and strove very hard to make something of my life. And I kind of feel slightly hacked off when I get to the point that I am, and I try to represent other people who have come from nowhere and have nothing and want to better their lives, and they're not being listened to. When I'm there to represent their voices and their voices aren't being heard, that does get personal for me, because that's what I'm there to do.
I just have one final question, Nadine, because I realise it's late at night, and thank you so much for coming on tonight.
I've been driving 2 hours on the motorway.
Thank you for coming on tonight. But of this final question, I'm trying to work out in my mind, with all of the condemnation you've had of David Cameron, why you're still prepared to say, look, if he changes all of these policies, you would be happy with him. Surely, given what you have said tonight, you think he should go now?
No, because do you know what the truth of the matter is, and you probably won't really understand this, but I actually am very fond of David Cameron. I actually, as a person, I actually really like him, and sometimes
I'd like to hear what you say about one of your enemies.
I know.
What if you didn't like him?
I battle with a genuine affection I have for him, an absolute frustration for what he's doing.
You've got affection for him?
I do genuinely like the guy on a personal level. I think he's a lovely man.
There's a particular insect, I can't remember what the insect is now, Nadine, who makes love to someone they like, and then that person dies.
Just keep it clean, please. No.
So Nadine, you want to bury the hatchet, but it's in the back of his head.
But I do like him as a person very much. I think he's a very nice man. But I think, unfortunately, he doesn't stand up to the Liberal Democrats.
So he's a nice man who uses a mixture of privilege and arrogance
and
to be dangerous.
But you're affectionate. Good God.
In the position that he's in, being driven by the Liberal Democrats, and I have to say, and George Osborne as well, then that's the scenario I paint for the party.
Okay.
But you know what, Steve? Why don't you wait until the next local election, Cheshire? Let's see. If David Cameron doesn't change tack, if he doesn't change policy, if he carries on next year, then why don't we talk again a year after the next round of local elections, which are going to be much bigger than these ones?
Really enjoyed talking to you, Nadine. We always do. And thank you very much for joining us on 5 Live tonight. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
David and Jerry, we get your reaction. Wow.
Blimey, is there a full moon tonight?
Wow.
It's incredible. I think, yeah.
We'll get your reaction after the news.
Yeah.
Here's the number, if you're calling us tonight, 0500 909 693, and we'll try to turn around some of the key audio that Nadine just said there in that extraordinary exchange over the last 20 minutes. Here's the news.